Colin. Let's go to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati, can't call them Bengals anymore because they're maybe Super Bowl bound. Joe Burrow very excited about the prospects of the new look Bengals. They've got, I think, 7 new defensive starters. People are excited. And Joe, listen to this.
The number one thing is you have to win. And, we're going to go win a lot of games this year and play great and win a Super Bowl. And, everything that comes with that comes with that. I think this is the most talented roster that we've had since I've been here.
I much prefer the where will Joe Burrow get traded to discussion, which is fun, but he got lucky. The schedule is unbelievably easy.
Yeah, well,
the division still has
relative to NFL schedule. It's not easy, but I think it's reasonable to say, listen, they have to go to Texas and then Pittsburgh in weeks 2, 3. Those are very losable games. And then they get the Jags.
Pittsburgh is losable?
Yes, at Pittsburgh, absolutely. They won 10 games
Steelers
last year.
are favored by 1 or 2.
Well, I said losable.
Okay, fair.
So at Houston, at Pittsburgh, Jags, those are 3. It's not that easy.
Now do the quarterback game. Who do you got, Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield? Burrow.
Well,
Joe Burrow or C.J. Stroud?
Quarterback, winning is not a quarterback stat. Do they have the O-line? Do they have the pass rush? Last year, Joe Burrow had to win every game by track meet. Mm-hmm. And Sam Darnold was excellent, but Sam could have an off game and they could win. Sam could throw 4 picks and they're driving for a win. Like Joe Burrow, I don't think do I think the schedule middle end is favorable? Yeah, but at the end of the season, they have to face Baltimore at Indy. You look at Carolina and you say it's Carolina. Again, gave the Rams fits last year.
Carolina's interesting because their win total was like 6.5, and you're like, wait, they just went to the playoffs. And, they haven't made a decision on Bryce Young long-term.
All right, let's be clear right from the start. This isn't about the Carolina Panthers. The focus here is the Cincinnati Bengals. And J Mac is genuinely confused because Colin, during the recent schedule announcement, kept circling back to quarterbacks. He kept saying things like, just look at the quarterback. Count how many signal callers Dak Prescott has to face, or Caleb Williams is the premier quarterback in this league, depending, of course, on which quarterback was the topic at that exact moment. So, naturally, J-Mac thought, fine, let's make this a quarterback-driven exercise. But Colin shut that down immediately, saying, no, you can't judge everything solely on the quarterback. And I remember sitting there thinking, hold on a second. If that's off the table, then what's the right way to evaluate the schedule right now? So, let me be honest. I've been producing an enormous amount of Cincinnati Bengals content lately. I genuinely feel like I've created more material about this team in the past few weeks than I have since I first started making videos. The reason is simple, I'm incredibly excited about the Bengals at this moment. Every time I come across a Bengals-related topic, I jump on it immediately because I can't stop talking about them. I am fully convinced, completely confident, that this particular Bengals roster is going to be highly competitive and extremely relevant in the upcoming season. I'm just so fired up to finally witness a consistent, high-performance version of Joe Burrow and this franchise. But before I dive into the details, I need to address Bengals fans directly. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and watch the full-length video. When you do that, the view counts go through the roof, and the subscriber numbers follow. And let me be clear, this isn't about chasing meaningless metrics. It's not about vanity numbers. It's about having the ability to produce Bengals-related content that people genuinely want to watch and talk about. And you all have absolutely been doing that. So I honestly cannot thank you enough. But more importantly, your support puts me in a position where we can continue having honest, grounded, real conversations about the Bengals. Not fake hype just because it's fun to say, oh, they're Super Bowl contenders, nor lazy negativity like, they're terrible, I'll believe it when I see it. We don't need to live in extremes for the sake of extremes, right? The goal is to find the nuance, the real discussion here. So, with that said, let's get into it. To be honest, I hadn't even heard the Joe Burrow quote about winning a Super Bowl. That threw me off. I'd heard other clips before, where he said things like, this is the best team we've ever had, or this is the most talented roster we've assembled. But I completely missed the part where he actually said, we're going to win a Super Bowl. I honestly never caught that in any of my previous segments. Now, I went back and listened to it carefully. And I'll be honest, when he said that, I think he was just rattling off a list of objectives, right? Things like, we're going to win a lot of games, we're going to try to win a Super Bowl. I'm not entirely sure if he meant it as a literal, declarative statement. I'd probably need to hear it several more times to really understand the exact meaning behind those words. Because at that moment, he definitely seemed disinterested in engaging with the media. That wasn't Burrow staring into the camera and saying, I'm addressing all of you, let's have a real conversation. He was more like, yeah, sure, whatever. He was just going through the motions a bit. But listen. Colin mentioned that certain games are losable, specifically pointing to matchups against the Texans and the Steelers. I disagree. I'm in the camp that actually loves the schedule. I've been saying this ever since the schedule was released. This is a slate of games that the Bengals can absolutely, positively use as a springboard to finish first in their division and secure the #1 overall seed. I wholeheartedly believe that. Now, you could make the counter-argument that any of these games could be a loss. That's what makes these schedule breakdowns so difficult these days. I was just talking to someone in the comments about the Chargers, and they said, the Chargers could start the season 2-4. And I replied, no, they won't. Because I believe in the Chargers. I immediately meant, no, I don't see that happening. And the person said, really? But look at the teams they have to play, and they listed a few opponents. And I thought, oh, well, technically, yes. And that's exactly where the NFL is right now. So many games appear competitive on paper. You look at a matchup and think, well, I don't know how good Malik Willis and the Dolphins will be. Or, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in Week 3, they should be fairly healthy by then, it's a home game, the weather will be nice, Rodgers will be fresh. Okay, fair point. The Texans' defense is elite. I don't feel great about the Buccaneers, but whatever. The Ravens will always be competitive, those divisional games are always battles. The Titans with Cam Ward, Brian Dable, Robert Saleh, alright. The Atlanta Falcons with Michael Penix have a lot of weapons. The Commanders, a year ago, before all their injuries, they were in the NFC Championship game and they actually beat the Bengals. Tyler Shaw and Kellen Moore, you can make the argument. It's similar to what they did with the Carolina Panthers, right? Your instinct would be to skip over them and say, oh, the Carolina Panthers? And then Colin points out, well, the Panthers gave the Rams serious problems, and honestly, the Rams should have lost to the Panthers in the playoffs. I stand by that regarding the wild card round. So yes, if you're looking at this through a loose, traditional schedule evaluation lens, absolutely, any game low. okay's losable. But that's not the lens I'm using. I'm looking at it through a different perspective. You have Joe Burrow. You have an elite, all-time great talent. And right now, what's supposed to happen is that this Bengals defense is finally going to be legitimate. It's finally not going to be a massive liability. And this offensive line should also finally not be one of the worst in the NFL. But even if it is, and I've said this repeatedly in my other Bengals videos, even if the O-line remains a problem, as long as the weapons around Burrow are healthy, and as long as the defense isn't an absolute joke, you're still going to win a ton of games. Because Burrow has proven he can do that. He's proven that he doesn't even need an offensive line to get the offense moving. You don't have to make the same O-line excuses for him that you make for Patrick Mahomes or anyone else. Because Burrow finds a way. He is so elite before the snap and after the snap that it's like, whatever. You're going to send pressure? I've got it. Bring it on. And as long as the defense is simply competent, you go to the Super Bowl. So, with that logic, with that mindset, I don't care how good the Titans are going to look. I don't care how good the Falcons are going to look. I don't care how competitive you think the Steelers will be. I don't care about the Buccaneers and their new coordinator or new players. I don't care about any of that. That's the mentality. That's the understanding. And with that logic, when someone says, oh, the Panthers gave the Rams fits? My response is, we're not the Panthers. And we're not the Rams. Joe Burrow is better than Matthew Stafford. The difference is that Matthew Stafford had a great coach, a great roster, and great weapons around him. And you know what? Even in those ideal circumstances, Joe Burrow still outperformed him. Matthew Stafford got his MVP, he put up all those impressive, cartoonish numbers, and he had an elite offensive line, plus Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, an elite running game, and an elite offensive playbook. Burrow had none of that. He had two players, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and he didn't even have them for a full season. Yet he still played at an incredible level. He still put up insane numbers, better numbers than Stafford. So, we are not the same. We are not comparable. My entire mentality about the Bengals is this: just give them competence. Just give this team a baseline level of competence, and they will be elite. They will be elite. My heart just stopped for a second because I thought I wasn't recording anything, and I was just talking to nobody. I thought, oh my gosh, you just went on this whole rant, and you weren't even recording. But I was. So, moving on. This is the American Dad analogy I was talking about regarding the Cincinnati Bengals. This is exactly where they stand. You're looking at this massive wall, and at the top is a Super Bowl. The joke is, here, just give me a boost. Just give me a little step up. And then, boom, you're at the top. And then you just have to reach back down for the next person. That is literally what this team feels like to me. Just give me a little boost. You give me a little boost, and they're at the very top. You just need a tiny bit of help. A tiny boost. I don't care who you're going up against. I don't care about their quarterback or their defense. It doesn't matter. We are forgetting just how great Joe Burrow is as a quarterback. That's why Burrow seems haunted. Do you realize that? Do you see how miserable Burrow has been over the last few years? Because he knows who he is. He knows his own ability. It's the same situation that Kevin Durant found himself in, where the production and the accomplishments should be so much higher. And again, injuries, circumstances, we can list all the reasons why. But we don't really talk about this enough anymore, and we should. I've tried my best to emphasize it, but it bears repeating: Joe Burrow is legitimately, genuinely an all-time special talent. If Burrow's style of play were hyper-athletic like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, we would be talking about him so much more. People are just more interested in that style. That style moves the needle more for casual fans. And yet, we seem to only reserve terms like generational talent or all-time great these days for players who do all the fun scrambles and highlight reel runs. A perfect example is Caleb Williams. Everyone is extremely high on Caleb right now. I'm also high on him. But they say things like, oh my gosh, did you see what he did against the Packers? Did you see what he did against the Rams? And it's like, Joe Burrow is better than Caleb Williams. Joe Burrow is way better than Caleb Williams right now. Maybe one day Caleb will surpass him, but at this moment, Burrow is the superior quarterback. And yet, people seem more optimistic and more excited about what they think Caleb might do or could become. And I'm thinking, guys, we have this completely backwards. Think about it this way, and I'll wrap up here. I just stumbled onto this point, and it's perfect because we don't want to do the standard quarterback comparison exercise. We're going to do a different version of it. We're having some really interesting conversations about all the quarterbacks the Bengals are about to play in a few months. Can Baker Mayfield replicate what he did in 2024? He has a new coordinator, new system. I don't care. Joe Burrow is clearly better. I don't care what the best version of Baker Mayfield looks like, Burrow is superior. The Houston Texans, can he regain his 2023 form? Is he a true franchise quarterback? He has offensive line issues he hasn't overcome. Doesn't matter. Joe Burrow is better. Aaron Rodgers, he was elite, he was special, but he's retiring. Trevor Lawrence, who even is he? Year 2 with Liam Cohen. Doesn't matter. Joe Burrow. The Miami Dolphins with Malik Willis, can he continue some of He magic he had in Green Bay? Can he prove to be a legitimate franchise starter? Doesn't matter. And on it goes. Joe Burrow has proven he is elite. He's proven he is special. He's proven he is that guy. You don't have to look at him through a potential lens. You don't have to ask, can he regain what he once had? He never lost it. He's always had it. It's never gone anywhere. And people seemingly forget that, and then act confused. Do you realize that even in 2025, when Joe Burrow was clearly injured and only played 8 games, he was still the second-ranked quarterback in the NFL with a 91.8 grade? Do you understand how insane that is? His passer rating was 100.7. But people will say, well, he turned the ball over against the Buffalo Bills. And I'm like, sure, okay. Considering how that season unfolded for him, he was thrown into the fire. The Bengals still had a terrible pass block win rate of 58%. That was improved from 2024, I think they were at 50% in 2024, so it got better, but he was still just a notch under Matthew Stafford. And yet, Burrow had a 58% pass block win rate, while Stafford had something like 67, 68, 69%, which one was it? 69%. Just saying. And Burrow dealt with that for the entire season. That's how special he is. If he had played a full season, he would have been second in touchdown passes, second in touchdown to interception ratio, and he would have thrown for over 4,000 yards. So, he would have been top 5, it's hard to know exacto. Why where, but probably top 5, I'd guess. So, you all need to understand who Joe Burrow is. I have personally taken it upon myself to keep reminding people just how elite and just how special he is. Even I have undervalued him at times, and I apologize for that. But no more. I will not allow that to happen any longer. People, do not forget who Joe Burrow is and how special he is. That's why the American Dad meme is the best physical representation of where the Bengals are at. Just give me a little boost. Give me a tiny boost, and you're all the way at the top. Just a small boost, and you'll hurt your neck staring up so high. Those are my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about Joe Burrow and the Bengals winning a Super Bowl? Being a top team in the NFL? This finally being the year that Burrow proves his true value to the doubters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree, either way, let's start some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you be a part of it. I want to build something we all genuinely feel connected to, something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.